Like most watch enthusiasts, I've always had a soft spot for Omega. I didn't grow up as someone who was into watches. It wasn't a hobby that was passed down from my grandfather to my father and eventually to me. That was so far out of our family's financial sphere. But I remember I would see Omega adverts in the magazines I'd read and thought they were really aspirational, and it planted this seed of Omega equals nice watches. My husband is the person who got me into the deep end of watches. He's an engineer. He's really into the mechanics of it all. But before meeting him, I could have named maybe 3 watch brands: Rolex, Tag Heuer, and Omega. People always tease me for being a Rolex fangirl, and I get it. But also, I was thinking the other day, I own as many Omegas as I do Rolexes. I'm not critical of Omega because I dislike them. I really like them. I think they have some of the strongest brand name power out there, but I am worried about the way they are being managed right now, especially with the ascending prices. And there's a reason why all of my Omegas are vintage or neo-vintage. I want to say this right at the beginning of the video because I know there will be a lot of people who will just read the title, then craft a very strong opinion and comment. But yes, I still think Omegas are worth it. I think they can still sell watches at the prices they're asking for, and the price is in line, but only just. And if they're not sensitive to the general population of consumers, they could experience a pretty sharp decline. So I think we should talk about some of the problems first, and there's 3 big things. Number 1, nothing novel, price increases. This is something that started back in 2021, 2022. There was a massive bump in watch sales at the height of the pandemic. Watch brands got a bit too big for their boots and implemented some pretty punishing price increases. Omega particularly is in a bit of a pricing pickle. As Rolex raises their prices, I think Omega is going to feel a pressure to raise in line, keeping their products above half price. They don't want to be half the price of Rolex, but it's going to become difficult to actually sell their watches at the prices they're asking for. I think even Rolex is going to feel a pinch here. Sure, they'll be able to sell stainless steel Daytonas, but I think precious metals will be sat in the window for sale, Oyster Perpetuals, even the odd Explorer. I think that's where Rolex wants to be again. That was about their positioning pre-pandemic, but I don't know if Omega can stay afloat. I think we're going to start seeing some of their items come on sale and sales assistants offering discounts. The Omega brand name is very strong, but it cannot support the current prices. Second factor, bracelet quality. If you are a forum goblin like myself, you will be familiar with this picture. This circulated in 2014. It is the receipt of someone in the Nordic region purchasing a half link, and the country of origin is stated as China. I've seen a few rebuttals online saying it was probably just a piece of stock from an authorized Omega dealer in China. I find this hard to believe as the brand is located within Europe. They have tons of European authorized dealers. Why wouldn't they have sourced one closer to the region? If they're sourcing this from AD to AD, was there absolutely no half links in Switzerland, Germany, the UK who could send this far more affordably? There's a real gray area on where parts are made and sourced from, and many Swiss companies want to keep it that way to keep margins as high as possible. As of the time of filming, there are only 2 completely vertically integrated watch manufacturers that I can think of, and that's Rolex and Seiko. I don't want to talk about the Swiss-made rule. 60% must be manufactured in Switzerland. Movements must be cased in Switzerland. If you're watching this video, you're probably quite familiar with the Swiss-made standard. I don't really care about where a product was manufactured. Is it good? And in the case of modern Omega bracelets, I don't think they're up to par with the price they're asking for. Many people report problems with the clasps and bracelets. I've even had authorized dealers warn me about Omega clasps. Now, I don't have firsthand experience with this, so I'd love to know in the comments down below, is this something you've experienced or heard about as well? Let me know. I really prefer firsthand information being given and not pure speculation, which this kind of is. I think this is an excellent place to talk about today's fabulous video sponsor, Surfshark, who are awesome and I have firsthand experience with. I've said it before and I'll say it again. I've been using Surfshark since before they were a video sponsor, and I'll be using them long after. So if you're not as familiar, Surfshark is a VPN, or a virtual private network, that encrypts your internet activity, hides the stuff you're doing online from snoopers and trackers, and allows you to place your device anywhere in the world. So that was the big reason I wanted Surfshark initially. I wanted to be able to stream censored content and watch Canadian shows because I live in the UK. I wanted to watch Letterkenny. But Surfshark is so much more than just that. So they protect your data while using public Wi-Fi so you don't become a victim of identity theft or fraudulent purchases, offer price discrimination features to help you find the best deals possible on planes, hotels, rental cars, and on top of that, can be used on unlimited devices, meaning the whole household is protected with just one account. One of the features that I get the most use out of is their antivirus software, which shields your device from viruses, malware, and tracking of ad companies and bots. They will give you real-time updates if you've downloaded some dodgy files. I'm a big fan. I use them every day of my life. If you want to go check them out, head to surfshark.com/gringa and use my code, the Gringa code, for an extra 4 months of Surfshark, and you will receive a 30-day money-back guarantee. Go check them out, and thank you so much to Surfshark for sponsoring this video. Okay, this is the last hurdle, and I think the biggest one they are facing, and that's not being in tune with what their customers actually want. Omega is a really interesting case study in that they appeal to and are aspirational for a lot of normal people, but also enthusiasts feel quite drawn and quite tied to them. I'd speculate one of the biggest reasons for this is because of their wide-scale adoption of the coaxial escapement. If you're not as way out in the deep weeds with this stuff, the coaxial escapement is a movement innovation invented by George Daniels, one of the greatest watchmakers ever, and he invented this in the 1970s. It is a big departure from the widely used Swiss lever escapement, and to be clear, it is better. It uses 3 pallets and a multi-lever escapement wheel rather than traditional sliding friction. This significantly reduces the need for lubricants and improves long-term stability and accuracy. Although it's better, when Daniels was trying to sell this new system to Swiss watchmakers, no one was interested. Except Omega. I think Omega took a big risk with this decision. It was a cool choice, and not a lot of Switzerland was on board with the departure from the Swiss lever escapement. To take on this new escapement system is not a small ask. The entire movement architecture will need rethinking. This new thing means new cases. It's really an overhaul of the entire watch. I think the problem is 99% of watch purchasers don't care about the escapement. They think the movement is cool. Whoa, I can look at it. Look at this machine go. That's amazing. But they don't want to get into the deep weeds of escapement systems and friction. We do. The enthusiasts do. We get hyped up on this stuff. But this might be one of the biggest problems in having a large part of your customer base being enthusiasts. We are the worst customers. We are very informed. We have the highest expectations. We want the most specs at the lowest possible price. We want it to be a value for money proposition, and we're fickle. We are far and away the worst customer base to appeal to. So now, as their prices are getting higher, a large part of their customer base is going to be nitpicky about it. And even beyond that, I don't think they're in tune with what their people actually want. Instead of cluttering the Seamaster catalog with another Diver 300 we don't need, no one asked for this, why not bring in some smaller sizes of iconic models? There's precedence for this with, say, something like the old midsize models. Even just giving us a bracelet taper and better thought through bracelets. I know it's more work. I know it's a tougher task than just, putting some orange on some indices and calling it a new Seamaster. But enthusiasts would go gaga for this if you just invested a little bit more in these little tiny things. I really think Omega will be losing purchases because they've not listened to enthusiasts. They've raised prices beyond what the product can support. And they don't have the brand power to carry the prices that they're asking for. To be quite clear, Omega isn't just an enthusiast brand. Of course, they're a mainstream powerhouse. But as they leave behind some of the enthusiast market to chase more of the mainstream consumer, I think they're going to lose a giant swath of their purchasers for short-term profit boosts, like releasing another Seamaster, rather than having a meaningful look and think through about their current catalog, where it's going, what's ahead. Maybe I'm dead wrong about this. I don't know. These are just my feelings right now, and I want to be wrong. I really want Omega to release something cool this year. And maybe this is all just me explaining that I'm maybe not within the current Omega customer group. My only worry is less and less people are, because they are a declining brand. It sucks to say, like, it brings me no joy to say this. I don't know. I think I'm going to get a lot of pushback in the comment section. I'm not saying these watches suck. I am saying they're expensive for what they are, and I feel like they just need a little bit more love and thinking through. Now, I do ultimately think Omega is still worth buying and looking into in 2026. I'm not fully a hater. Let me tell you the 4 things I think they have going for them and what I think they need to do to turn things around. Number 1, their entry-level pricing. One of the things I respect the most about Omega is how fiercely they've protected their entry-level pricing, namely with the Seamaster Diver 300. For enthusiasts, I think we would say the Speedmaster is the icon of Omega. But when it comes to widest reach, the most popular model is the Seamaster Diver 300. If I see someone wearing a luxury watch here in Bristol where I live, which is rare, this almost never happens, but it is most likely going to be an Omega Seamaster Diver 300. I think it's very telling that Omega treats this as their entry point into the brand. This is where they want people to start, and for it to be their first taste into what we are all about. The model they selected to be this is one of the most robust, well-made, iconic dive watches. The Seamaster Diver 300 is so freaking cool. I mean, I'm very biased, but considering this was released in the 90s and is just as iconic as models made in the 50s, it speaks volumes. The entry piece into Rolex, I would say, is the Oyster Perpetual. Someone might argue the Datejust or even maybe the Air King, but I would say the Oyster Perpetual has the strongest case. It's a kind of plain watch. It's very good. Everything is done well. It's a good, solid omelet. Contrasted against Omega, who wants the S&P 300 to be their raison d'etre, their entry point. They're giving us a full English breakfast with a complimentary cup of tea, extra bacon. It's not even close when you compare these two. And to drive it home even further, these both retail for £5,600. This is why enthusiasts love Omega. It is value for money, and they have protected this price for a long time. I've been keeping track of this. It's been this price since 2023, and I don't think many brands have held a price for as long as this in the luxury watch industry. I really, really respect that they are protecting their entry points, and this is an unreasonably awesome watch to be your entry. So we talked about movements in the last section. We won't hang out here long, but I think it bears repeating. Omega took a giant risk with their movements, and for the price still deliver some of the coolest machines out there. I am a person who really cares about movement innovations, R&D, and pushing things forward. They should proudly display coaxial on their movements because it is a superior system, and it's cool that they took on that risk. I think as enthusiasts, we often get, I don't want to say lost in the deep weeds again. I think I've already said it twice. We get lost in the gully of specs and we forget about the je ne sais quoi of quality. If you ask someone, what makes a quality item? What is quality? You might be able to answer with a cocktail of things. Good design, fine materials, movement technology, and all these good things culminate into this very tangible but hard to describe thing that we just call quality. When you hold something in your hand and it has this really particular weight to it, or the way the chamfer edges reflect against the light, the way it feels on wrist, the depth of the dial, and how fun it is to look at the balance spring. Speaking of which, Omega spy rate, very cool. We're not going to get into that. There is a feeling of quality, and it's so hard to put into words, but you know it when you feel it and when you see it. It's like feeling the softest cashmere jumper or the softest lamb's leather jacket. Omega has that, and it's half the magic. Finally, and I hate this one, I'm tucking it away at the end. I'm not sure if I'm using the word iconic correctly or if that's the word I'm looking for. Maybe it's more storied, but they're also iconic. They're iconic and storied. I think every enthusiast has a soft spot for them because they have this history and charm that's captivating. The Speedmaster is one of the most handsome watches that money can buy, and it represents man's mission to the moon, human pluckiness, and the fact that Omega was selected by NASA is not a small deal. I've said it before, I'm saying it again, but the Seamaster Diver, being as iconic as it is, for only being released in the 90s, is massive. The Seamaster line in general, storied. But here's the thing, having a storied past isn't enough. The stories will resonate with people, but they also need to be excited about what is happening right now. They need to be excited about the future and the now. Rolex in the Land Dweller, making a high frequency movement, new design, still inspired by the past. I think this is the freshness Omega needs to tap into. People know that they want bread. Give them fresh bread. We can taste the difference between the stale and the fresh. And I think there's a revitalization that needs to happen, or else Omega's gonna continue to slump. Anyways, guys, I was trying to end this video on a high. I guess I'm just grumpy by nature. I'd love to know, what are some of your thoughts in the comments down below? Do you agree? Totally disagree? I don't know. What do you guys think of the Omega situation? Are you in the market to buy an Omega? Have you recently bought one? Let me know everything in the comments down below. Once again, I'm not saying this as a person who hates the brand, because I'm not. I love them. I think they're awesome. I want to own more. I'm just a little bit worried about the direction and the vision. Thank you so much for your viewership. Thank you to Surfshark for sponsoring this video. And now, Pope Tier patrons. Get their names on the screen. Hi guys, I hope this one didn't come off as terribly grumpy. I've been stewing on this one for a bit, and I still don't think I've said everything quite the way I wanted to. I don't know. I guess we'll find out if I get flamed in the comments. But guys, I say it all the time, you keep this channel going, and you really do. Thank you so much. I'm glad you enjoy the work that we do here. I love making it. I love that my full-time job is researching watches, making videos, fun, and I'm so glad anyone enjoys it. I hope you keep enjoying the channel and the work we're doing here. Even if you don't, I hope you enjoy watches forever. They're awesome. You're awesome. I'm gonna go have a nap. I'm so tired. Bye, guys.